two Jin-Gitaxias into Grizzlebrand.
Well,
and Jin-Gitaxias is one that hasn't seen a lot of play since Grizzlebrand has been printed.
This is true. This is true. I mean, maybe, I guess I don't have an opinion. I understand why people went to 4 Grizzlebrand for a moment there. Jerry Thompson, I think, was one of them. But was Reed Duke the other one?
Yep, he was another one.
Yeah.
Something that blows my mind, though, he's got 8 fatties, 6 different varieties, and he didn't have room for Iona.
Well, Iona, who needs to lock anybody out?
He's got it in the sideboard. He's got it in the sideboard, but that just seems so, like, Iona doesn't crack your top 6? Wow. But a very streamlined build. For Force Will, for Daze, for Brainstorm, for Careful Study, for Ponder, for Entomb, for Reanimate, and so on. But only 16 land. Looks like the Caracases have dried up a little bit. Like, for instance, we're not seeing multiple Caracases in the main deck of Reanimator decks this week. But we surely are seeing one from this this Bant Maverick deck, right? Yep, one Caracas over here.
Yeah. Interesting to know. If you recognize Robert, who was on the right, he's a photographer. He's from Canada, just got a quick jump across Niagara Falls to get here. And if you remember that awesome picture of Michael Hetrick and Shaheen Surani from the Invitational, that split image picture when both of those players were undefeated, he's the one that took that those pictures, and we have him to thank for that awesome image. Robert Johnson opens up with a Savannah fetched up. Probably gonna enjoy a 1-drop in there somewhere. He's got so many of them.
Yep, the 4 Noble Hierarchs, 4 Mother of Runes, and a note tracker. So what do you think about the Geist of St. Treff Caracas combo? It's kind of fun, right?
It's pretty exciting, you know? Get in there, and if they don't have anything, you've got a repeatable Ball Lightning. And if they do, well, let's just do Hell's Thunder.
I like it.
Thoughtseize, what you got over there? Kasali Pride Mage, Mother of Runes, Wasteland, and a Lonely Misty Rainforest.
So what do you like here? Do you take the Kasali Pride Mage or the Mother of Runes?
I like taking the Pride Mage because of the clock, honestly. It's just the fastest thing that he's got going. There you go. The Reanimator deck, yeah, the Reanimator deck does not really care so much about Mother of Runes. It doesn't do that kind of fight with Maverick very often.
Wasteland on the Underground Sea. Gonna see Mother of Runes come down. Oh, no, that's 2 land. The real casual just Wasteland Stone Range straight to the graveyard, Misty Rainforest. That's a warning. And he did draw Swords to Plowshares, though, which does give him a line of defense against the various Reanimators. Mother of Runes.
And in for a big ol' 1. Boom! Take that, Colton.
The beat's got to start somewhere.
Well, Robert Johnson's got the beats. Island go. It's the Bucket Island. Popular among some. I'm not a fan, though. It doesn't look like an island to me. And the Misty Rainforest we saw before. In for 2, Robert Johnson? Or in for the safer 1? I like the 2 here.
Interesting. Decides he'd rather keep the Mother of Runes home.
Well, he doesn't know what Colton's playing yet.
He's playing one of those legacy decks with Underground Sea and Thoughtseize. It narrows it down.
It does. It does narrow it down, but I mean, there are other things out there that could be being played here. Personally, I still like...
I agree with you completely.
Yeah. I mean, I still like going in with the Mother at this point.
I can empathize with that. I also like going in with the Mother at this point.
I mean, putting Colton on a 16-turn clock, no matter what deck he is, gives him a lot of time to find a way out. 8 turns is not very fast either, but it's a lot less than 16.
Man, it always drives me nuts when people only shuffle like that. Think I don't know where the top of his library is now? And if I can tell from watching from here. But Legacy, I guess, is the type of format where it's sort of like Battle of the Wits all the time, you know? Like it's kind of a smile and a nod just to be able to function, because who has time to shuffle that many decks, I guess. Robert Johnson evaluating if this noble hierarch clock is really enough.
I mean, brainstorm, ponder. These are not cards.
Is Mother of Runes the white goblin welder?
That is a huge amount of praise for Mom. She may be the white goblin welder, but that's high praise. It might be too high of praise. And
the green Llanowar elf.
Boom. Knight of the Reliquary. Force of Will for that. No thank you, sir.
Say good day.
Attack for 2 or for 0? There we go. That's it. Give him the business.
That's the thing. I think the floodgates have opened. Once you leave yourself vulnerable and the world doesn't end, what's to stop you from just going hog wild next turn? What do you think of this strategy of playing 8 fatties in the main deck?
Seems like a lot. I mean, I suppose what you get to do is you get to put down something that's not as devastating as Gristlebrand, just as a initial, is this good enough? Against people that might have a certain kind of main deck hate. That's just, I'm trying to come up with something. I'm basically just reaching here.
Makes you a little more turbo, I guess, because you're going to be able to discard them to careful study more often.
Animate Dead, reprint.
It is.
It's the G.
Who did you get back?
Gristlebrand.
Gristlebrand's the G?
Yep.
Not Jin Gitaxias or the Grand Cenobite?
There's a lot of G's in this deck.
Hell yeah. This is like the dog pound.
Oh boy.
Tell you right now, Colton's real happy that Mother of Runes can only give your own creatures protection from.
Now if Robert Johnson... Ooh, Thalia. A little late to the party. It's good. Swords. Nice. It costs 2 mana to cast that swords, though. Let's,
Judge?
Let's, make sure that doesn't happen. Slow it up.
Judge, he's showing those cards.
There we go. Oh, it doesn't affect me? It affects me, too? Man!
This is the... probably not the wisest order to be doing this in.
Well, he was hoping, not realizing that it affected him too, that he'd be able to essentially stop Colton from being able to do anything useful. No responses and the Gristlebrand would go away. But sadly, his plan does not actually work with reality.
Well, fortunately, they're not making Colton keep the 7 cards.
That seems reasonable.
Sorry about that whammy. Attack for 4. Probably not going to matter in this case, the life link, but it's pretty close you know? He had not finished drawing the 7 cards either, fortunately.
In for 6 lifelink.
Probably going to prove to be a very costly error on Robert Johnson's part. A grave error. Is there any other kind? I'm starting to think that Colton is going to play around Force of Will. Or I mean, Swords to Plowshares. Perhaps for the Force of Will.
Elish Norn and Daze in Colton Sandford's hand.
So Colton taking 3, dropping to 14. See, I think I would have just drawn the 7 before. Because you don't want him to plow it in response to drawing 7. There's the plow. Draw 7 in response. That's a Force of Will.
Does not work.
I haven't seen a blue card yet. Looks like there's a Brainstorm now.
There's not much to be said about Robert's chances here. He needs a lot to go right and a lot to have gone wrong for Colton. Lifelink, I mean, that little word on Gristlebrand just makes all the difference. Two mana, Brainstorm, Thalia forcing a little bit more of a cost there.
Robert Johnson can always draw Caracas. Caracas, probably the most overpowered of the Legends lands, although one could also make a case for the Tabernacle.
I could see that. In once again, life linking it up, switching the life totals. Are we at Caracas or no time?
I mean, he could have another plow and have things go right for a while. It's not super promising, though.
In for 3.
You think maybe we're supposed to attack for 4 there?
Probably. I'm not sure how much it matters.
I mean, that's 2 points.
Well, actually, that's a big deal, isn't it? Because now Colton can draw 7 before the damage is revealed or dealt. Okay. And that's it for game 1.
All right, what are we looking at in the sideboard?
Well, let's see. Robert Johnson, Spell Pierce is going to be a useful card against the Reanimations package. Phyrexian Metamorph can copy a legend. 3 Purify the Graves as a dedicated creature removal. 2 Path to Exile to help things out. A Bojuka Bog.
Crop rotation, fantastic.
Yep.
Getting both Bojuka Bog and Caracas.
Yep. And
Linvala.
Linvala turns off the activated abilities.
Yep. Yeah. And it's not even clear that he won't board in life from the loam, just to be able to get back his Caracas, you know? But
I mean, he certainly has a lot of cards he doesn't necessarily need.
yeah, I'm picturing, I mean, it's well known that Maverick is a huge dog to Reanimator Game 1. Does he have access to Scavenging Ooze? Oh, he's actually got 2 main deck. But, and 4 Green Sun Zenith. So he's actually got a better setup against Reanimator than most.
It's true.
He's down a game, but that was the tough one. He doesn't have the worst chances, though. On the other side of it, Colton has 3 Submerge, very valuable. He has Show and Tell, which you could always potentially bring in, but usually not. It's not at its best against Maverick, because they're the one deck that attacks you a lot of ways besides just Graveyard Hate.
Yeah, I mean, like, let's pretend that you do that Show and Tell, and you put in whatever you put in, and they put down Neither Reliquary, and then suddenly they've got a Caracas working.
He does have Pithing Needle, which is going to be huge because it hits Knight of the Reliquary or Caracas or any number of activated abilities. Scavenging Ooze, a lot of important hits. Engineer Explosives, a reasonable option, helping deal with things like Scavenging Ooze. But it's not clear that it's going to be fast enough here. The absence, the one that I'm not seeing, Chase the Mind Sculptor. When I played Reanimator at the last Legacy GP in the US, the Jason Mind Sculptor was an instrumental part in defeating the Maverick decks that I played. The ability to bounce Knight of the Reliquary, so powerful. But it also just gives you another game plan so that when they have their Graveyard Hate, when they have their Caracas or whatever, you're doing something that just beats them anyway.
One of the things Colton has to be wary of is over-sideboarding.
Yep.
And ceasing to be the dangerous threat that a Reanimator deck can present.
Well, usually it's easy to cut some of these reanimation spells. The games slow down and get more compact. I mean, slow down and get more attrition-y and less about just do the combo fast. So you can also probably cut some of the fatties too. Some of the reanimation spells, some of the fatties, and sometimes you cut some of the dazes. Daze is not that good against these Maverick decks sometimes.
They've got so much mana acceleration.
Yeah, and if you're on the draw, often you can't even afford to do the Sinkhole Yourself plan.
And Robert Johnson, once again on the right, he's down 1-0 versus Colton Sandford.
What do you think about Lotus Petal in decks like this? In this Reanimator deck?
Well, I mean, if you're in a position where you're absolutely needing to do a fast race, Lotus Petal is just a quasi-time walk. The cost is huge. The cost is very huge. Being down 1 card, you don't actually get that attack phase. You're just speeding up for a moment. So if it doesn't work out, you're going to be in real trouble. And then also, later in the game, if the game goes long, you're going to have some very weak draws. So if you're hoping to make the game be over circa immediately, I mean, that can be the right path. Just be too fast for people's hate to even come into play.
Interesting. I could kind of picture. I wonder if there's a Grizzlebrand somewhere in the future that exists on the overlap between Lotus Petal and Dark Ritual. Imagine if you had Lotus Petal and Dark Ritual. Just how fast. I mean, that might just be too gimmicky, but like, I'm just picturing a lot of turn 1 Grizzlebrands. I don't know. I wonder too.
Gristlebrand Storm hybrids?
What about Shallow Grave?
Oh, that's a card. Wow.
Or Goryo's Vengeance. The Shallow Grave for Legends.
Right.
It seems like if you played Shallow Grave and Goryo's Vengeance, it'd be pretty easy to pretty reliably hit your opponent with Grizzlebrand on turn 1.
Nicole Bolas, Shallow Grave. Ooh, memories.
Yeah, problem with Nico Bolas, I don't think he
doesn't stick around.
I don't think he sticks around.
Doesn't stick around
hard enough.
Well, it takes a lot of effort to do all that studying.
Yeah. Unfortunately, Jin Cataxius doesn't quite work right. Like, it works a little bit, but not as well as you'd like. It's an option, I guess. Emrakul works with Goryo's Vengeance, if you were in the market for such a thing.
Remember that the Emrakul is not replacement, it's triggered, so it's there for a second. So that's why the Goryo's Vengeance will do it.
I wonder though. I feel like there's got to be a broken Grizzlebrand deck, and I think faster might be the way to do it.
Right now I'm looking at the art for the original Nicol Bolas, the Elder Dragon Legend.
He's come a long way since his days in Legends as opposed to Conflux.
Well, you know, he went through a lot of stuff where he was studying and learning.
A lot of weight loss.
As a result, became a Planeswalker, and his powers have grown immensely since then.
So now, did his spark become awakened from his readings? Or was it from emotional trauma? It seems like it's always like some sort of a moment of crisis. And my understanding is that when Teferi ripped open the space-time continuum in Dominaria, that he actually inadvertently triggered the spark that brought about Nicol Bolas 25,000 years ago.
Oh, how crazy.
That's not true. That cannot possibly
What?
be canon.
That's not what happened? Okay,
I don't know.
all of you out there in the Twitterverse, do you know how Nicol Bolas went from being an Elder Dragon Legend into becoming a Planeswalker? I actually really don't know, and I'd be curious to find out. Tweet to us the story in 140 characters, at minus at SCG Live, so I guess 132-ish characters.
Gwendolyn DeCourcy broke his heart.
Let us know. Was it Gwendolyn DeCourcy? Was it some other thing? Did he get jealous of Koth? I don't know. How did Nicol Bolas become a Planeswalker? And here we have Robert Johnson still on the right, Colton Sandford on the left, and we are on turn 1 still of this game. Looks like Ricky Hayashi and Ruben Bressler are conferring about Nicol Bolas and how this happened to him. Could be something else, but ponder from Colton Sandford.
It is never a good sign when they keep. I find in spots like that, when they keep, my hope is that they kept another ponder. Like that's the big hope, right?
You're like, oh man, just delay it.
Leon Kornacki, Jason Ridgenball. Leon Kornacki, Jason Ridgenball. Please report to the main stage. Leon Kornacki, Jason Ridgenball.
Thoughtseize, yeah.
Okay, look at all these cards. Night. Wasteland, Green Sun Zenith. What are those 2 white cards?
Are they Path to Exiles?
Alt Art Path.
Oh, no, Purify the Graves.
Purify the Graves. Okay, no, it's just a Purify the Grave. I'm not used to seeing
Is
that one.
It just to Purify the Grave in the Reanimator matchup?
Just.
Gosh darn.
Only 4 graveyard cards can be removed.
It's times like this you're hoping you draw your show and tell. I remember the good old days when you used to be able to play 1 Cabal Therapy in these Reanimator decks because you had like some Putrid Imps to sacrifice to them. So you could Entomb for your Cabal Therapy and then Mind Twisting.
Just get them.
It is definitely real hard to cast his fatties. One of the things I really liked that the GP was sideboarding City of Traders.
Right.
City of Traders very much helped on the backup plan if you just got to spend 8 for your Grizzlebrand. My mama used to.
Ponder, after making Knight of the Reliquary, go to the graveyard from the discard. Now, Robert Johnson, he can either play around Daze or ignore it and just drop a Knight of the Reliquary.
If that Knight of the Reliquary gets dealt with, Robert Johnson's out of gas. And that's exactly, I mean, if Colton is stuck having to play through 4 Purify the Grave activations, the best possible scenario for him is if he can keep Robert Johnson off of having creatures.
One of the ways that Maverick often wins in these unfair matchups is just throwing enough speed bumps in the way to force you to slow down, and then meanwhile plug away at you with some random thing. if you're lucky, you get to have that random thing be something really impressive, like a Scavenging Ooze or a Knight of the Reliquary. But typically,
you got to settle for script sprites.
Yeah, typically you're just coming in with some
and
old
people's
thing.
mothers of runes. Script Sprite, of course, Script Ranger from Time Spiral. The traditional Script Sprite is not the most effective legacy card anymore.
I still like to think of certain things as a Script Sprite recursion, where you just have so much going that
Like Moorland Haunt?
it doesn't even matter what you've got to do. It'll just, oh, here it goes, another Script Sprite.
Did he discard a Pithing Needle?
I guess so.
It seems insane that one could actually want to discard Pithing Needle in this matchup.
He maybe has the other one in his hand. Maybe he thinks it's extra, doesn't need it.
He's got like 7 targets.
I mean, it's all the same card, right?
His deck with cards like Careful Study and Imperial Archangel
Yep.
has to discard his best sideboard card.
And what do we have in his hand? I see, looked like a Spell Pierce, but that can't be.
I sure hope he doesn't want to ever use an Underground Sea.
I see Show and Tell, Force of Will. I think I saw Submerge, but I'm not sure of that.
It is Submerge.
Yep, there's the Submerge. Another Pithing Needle, because you only need one. Oh boy. And action here with Thalia. Oh, Green Suns for 1.
That's nothing. That's nothing to a Reanimator deck. Robert Johnson shuffling the Green Sun Zenith back after finding a Noble Hierarch to help develop his mana base. What do you think about that play right there? Going for a Noble Hierarch instead of a Kasali Pride, instead of a Scavenging Ooze. I mean, he's playing around Days.
It depends on how much he has in his hand that matters. If he's got a lot of value in his hand, then it's fine, but if he's thin on it, I'm not so excited about that. Colton Sandford here. Well, he only runs, it looks like 16 lands, so one of the costs of 16 lands, one wasteland can be pretty devastating sometimes. And a pass.
Wait, how does he not have to discard this
Yeah,
turn?
yeah,
if he
that's
had to
strange.
discard Pithing Needle last turn. Whoa, whoa, whoa. There are some minor irregularities, some technicalities going on here. It looks like he only has 7 in his hand. Makes me think he illegally discarded the Pithing Needle last turn.
Okay. Was that a Careful Study earlier? I don't think so. No? Okay, I don't know what's going on there. Somehow a discard happened that wasn't necessary. Force of Will on Knight of the Reliquary.
See, I think that I definitely would not discard Pithing Needle if it was my 7th best card in hand.
And he goes Needle. Naming?
Wasteland?
Wasteland. Wasteland, yeah. Let me keep my Black Source, please.
And of course, the discarding the 7th card can't go back. It's been over a turn.
Knight of the Reliquary, alternate art. I like the original art better. Another Wasteland.
Man, it'd be nice to have a Pithing Needle to name Knight of the Reliquary.
Hopefully, I don't know what he discarded, but a Submerge would be useful.
He did use Careful Study to discard. It looks like that was a, looked like a Brainstorm from here, but I guess it was a Careful Study. I still question discarding a Vithing Needle at all, but now that we're here, we'll just assume that it was from Careful Study.
Oh my god, and he says go. Wow.
One of my favorite moves with the Knight of the Reliquary is the Maze of Ith Knight of the Reliquary sequence.
Yep.
Maze of Ith, a very powerful piece of disruption against the Reanimator deck, but also you can get Maze of Ith to start mazing your Knight so that you can, after he's attacked and dealt damage, untap him and get the equivalent of Vigilance so that you can still be getting land every turn while pressuring your opponent.
Yep. Colton has a Engineered Explosives in hand. The Legacy community kind of had its mind blown a little bit when Brian Cole brought Junk to the world, a reimagining of Junk with Knight of the Reliquary and that trick in it. And as
the Legacy world had its mind blown?
Yeah.
Is this back at the Chicago?
Yeah. Yeah. And there were a lot of people in the Legacy community who hadn't, as soon as it was pointed out to them, it was like, wow, that's true, but hadn't really thought of using that as a path. Brian Cole, of course, knocked out of that top 8 by numerous forgettings of activating his Bob and eventually getting a match loss. It was a long weekend. A third land for Colton Sandford. We've got a Scavenging Ooze, a Knight of the Reliquary. We've got a Show and Tell. What are we going to see?
Did Knight of the Reliquary attack?
No. Maybe.
Doesn't look like it activated.
Gristlebrand, what you got? Nothing, says Robert.
But he didn't attack. I mean, he attacked. Why did he not get his Caracas?
Submerge the Knight.
I think he's probably going to draw that Knight a lot more from here on out.
Eat, says the Scavenging Ooze.
Huh.
Untap. Knight. Knight. I mean, Colton is not out of the woods yet.
No. Nope. He's hoping to draw an answer to the Knight in his top 8 cards.
Top 8 plus Brainstorms or Ponders or...
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, got there.
Yeah, he's so lucky.
I'm not saying he's that lucky. Oh, Lord. There's something about drawing 7 cards that just feels awesome.
See,
I think that's why I like to play a new game of Magic all the time. I'm like, 7 new cards?
dude,
Woo!
drawing 7 cards is sweet, but drawing 3 is, I think, sweeter. Because drawing 7, it's awesome, but too often you don't get to really enjoy them. It's over the top, you know, like it's over.
It's so much, it's just not even worth it. It's wasted.
It's yeah, you know, it's like having 7 cakes, eating 7 cakes at once. Like, that's a lot of cake. Although sometimes 7 pieces of cake is better than 3, that's for sure.
That's fair. And Robert Johnson, once again. Knight of the Reliquary on top, and let's recast it. Boink.
Yeah, but now he's
No.
Grizzlebrand and Archangel will knock him to super low, and I believe he's out of outs. No humilities in his sideboard. I mean, I'll tell you though, If any of these Maverick people ever played Humility in their sideboard, that would be a potent way to fight Show and Tell. Scavenging Ooze, gaining him another life, but he takes 12.
For those of you who are just joining us, I'm Adrian Sullivan here with Patrick Chapin. We're watching round 3 of 9 rounds of this Legacy Open event in Star City in New York, in Buffalo. This is the Star City Games Live Open Series. Colton Sandford on the left, about to win 2-0 versus Robert Johnson, a Maverick player here with a little bit of blue here to make him a little banty. Geist of St. Traft in the main deck, Trigon Predator in the sideboard.
Dude, we always talk about this. Why do people do this? They play Mother of Runes in a Legacy format. And I know that the accepted wisdom is that Mother of Runes is what's happening in this format. But Big Papa Grizzlebrand is like, he's not a joke.
A Plains. I think that Robert actually had this game won if he had not attacked with his Knight of the Reliquary on that one turn and just gotten a Caracas into play.
So AJ Soccer will tell you it's a game of inches.
And that's it. Colton Sandford has defeated Robert Johnson. Robert Johnson with a big smile here. I've definitely seen him around at events for a long time, usually with some sort of officiating capacity. One other person, or not even person, I should say entity, who is a winner in the history of Magic. Apparently, the first person that gave me an answer that seems definitive about Nicole Bolas, Evans Monroe III, at Jet Black Suit. Apparently, Nicole Bolas' spark ignited during the climax of the Elder Dragon War.